Jake Miller wanted to be famous on the internet. He was 22 years old and spent all day on his phone. He checked how many people liked his posts many times each hour. His small apartment walls had pictures of his most popular posts, but it was never enough for him. Jake wanted one of his videos to be seen by millions of people. Jake worked at a small store near his home. He did not make much money and did not have many friends. Most people at work thought he was strange because he was always on his phone trying to make videos. His boss warned him many times to stop using his phone during work hours. One evening, Jake was walking home after his work shift ended. He felt angry because none of his new videos got many views. He needed something that would shock people, something that would make them stop scrolling and watch his content. As Jake walked, he saw a small brown dog tied to a pole outside a coffee shop. The dog was waiting for its owner, who was inside buying drinks. The dog wagged its tail when it saw Jake coming closer. It was a friendly little terrier with big eyes and floppy ears. Jake looked around to see if anyone was watching him. The street was not very busy. A few people walked on the other side, but they were not looking in his direction. Jake took out his phone and turned on the camera. A bad idea came to his mind. He recorded himself approaching the dog. The dog looked happy to see him. Then Jake did something terrible. He kicked the small dog while filming it. The dog made a sad yelping sound and tried to move away, but it was tied to the pole and could not escape. Jake felt a small pain in his heart. He knew what he did was wrong. The dog looked at him with fear in its eyes. For a moment, Jake wanted to pet the dog and say sorry, but he did not. He just walked away quickly before anyone saw what he did. When Jake got home, he watched the video. The kick did not look as bad as it felt when he did it. The dog was scared, but not badly hurt. Jake thought people would think it was funny. He added some words about how to train dogs and posted it online. That night, Jake could not sleep well. He kept checking his phone to see how many people watched his video. The views were going up fast. More people watched this video than anything else he ever posted. Jake felt excited but also nervous. He knew he did a bad thing, but the attention felt good. By morning, the video had thousands of views. Jake smiled when he saw the numbers. This was what he always wanted. People were noticing him now. But then he started reading the comments. Most people were very angry. They called him names and said he was a terrible person for hurting a dog. Jake did not expect so much hate. He thought about taking the video down, but the view count kept rising. More views meant more followers. Maybe he could become internet famous even if people disliked him. Jake decided to keep the video up despite the angry comments. He did not know that this decision would change his life forever. The video spread across the internet very fast. By lunchtime on the second day, it had been shared thousands of times. Jake was surprised by how many people were watching. His phone kept making sounds with new notifications. Some people left laughing faces on his video, but most were angry. Jake read through some comments during his work break. People wrote things like, "Take this video down, and you should go to jail." Many said they would report him to the police for animal cruelty. Others tried to figure out where the video was filmed. They wanted to find the dog to make sure it was okay. At first, Jake felt scared. He did not think his video would make so many people mad. But a part of him was happy too. This was the attention he always wanted. His other videos only got a few dozen views. Now hundreds of thousands of people knew who he was. One comment caught Jake's attention. It was different from the others. While most comments were full of anger and bad words, this one was calm. It said, "I know exactly where this happened. I know exactly who you are. That was my sister's dog. Expect a visitor." The username was Robert K. Jake felt a chill when he read this comment. Most internet threats were just words. People said mean things online but did nothing in real life. But something about this comment felt different. It was too specific, too confident. Jake looked at the user's profile, but it had no pictures or information. He tried to forget about the comment and enjoy his new fame. His follower count was growing every hour. Some people even recognized him on the street. A woman at the bus stop pointed at him and told her friend that's the dog kicker from that video. Jake smiled at them, but they just looked disgusted. When Jake got home that evening, he was tired. His boss had yelled at him for checking his phone too much during work. He ordered food delivery and sat on his couch watching television. He tried not to think about all the hateful comments. He tried to focus only on his growing followers. The evening news came on the television. Jake almost dropped his food when he saw his own video playing. The news reporter was talking about animal cruelty and social media. They did not show his face or say his name, but they showed a blurred version of his video. The reporter said police were investigating the incident. Jake started to feel real fear. He had not thought about legal trouble. Could he really get arrested for kicking a dog one time? He was not sure. He thought about deleting the video, but it was too late. Too many people had already saved it and shared it. His phone rang. It was his mother calling from her home 2 hours away. Jake did not answer. She must have seen the video too. She would be so disappointed in him. Jake turned his phone off and tried to calm down. It would all blow over soon, he told himself. In a few days, people would forget about him and move on to being angry about something else. The internet always found new things to be upset about. Jake did not know that at that exact moment someone was already looking for him. Someone who would not forget or move on. Someone who was very determined to find the person who had hurt his sister's dog. Robert Keller was not a man who spent much time online. At 45 years old, he preferred books to screens. He worked as a detective with the city police department and had been on the force for 20 years. Robert was known for being calm and patient even in difficult situations. Robert was visiting his sister Emily when he first saw the video. Emily was fighting cancer and had been very sick from her treatments. Her small dog Buddy was her constant companion. The little terrier never left her side during her worst days. He seemed to know when she needed comfort. Emily was resting when her friend called to tell her about a video online. A video of a young man kicking a dog that looked exactly like Buddy. Emily checked the video's background and recognized the coffee shop near her home. She often tied Buddy outside when she went in to get her morning coffee. Emily called her brother right away. Robert came over and watched the video with her. His face showed no emotion, but inside he felt deep anger. He knew how important Buddy was to his sister. The dog had been her emotional support through months of painful cancer treatments. Robert recognized the location immediately. It was only a few blocks from Emily's apartment. He also noticed details about the young man that others might miss. The convenience store logo on his shirt. The reflection of his apartment building in a car window. Small things that told Robert exactly who this person was and where he lived. As a detective, Robert had access to information most people did not. He could find almost anyone if he had enough details to start with. He did not tell his sister what he planned to do. He simply promised her he would handle the situation. That night, Robert sat at his computer researching. He found the young man's full name, Jake Miller. He found his address and place of work. He learned that Jake lived alone in a small apartment building downtown. He had no criminal record and seemed to be an ordinary young man, except for his desperate need for attention online. Robert did not plan to arrest Jake. This was personal, not professional. He would not wear his badge or bring his gun. He would not threaten or intimidate. Robert believed in justice, but also in second chances. He had seen too many young lives ruined by one stupid mistake. Robert spent the next day thinking about what to do. He watched as the video spread, and the angry comments grew. He saw people threatening Jake and trying to find his identity. Robert decided he needed to act before things got worse, before someone else found Jake and did something violent. The following morning, Robert drove to Jake's apartment building. He parked across the street and waited. He watched Jake leave for work wearing the same store uniform from the video. Robert could have approached him then, but decided to wait. He wanted to confront Jake at his home where they could talk privately. Robert returned that evening and parked near the building entrance. He saw Jake come home carrying a takeout bag. Robert waited 30 minutes to give Jake time to settle in before approaching. He straightened his shirt and took a deep breath. He was not there for revenge. He was there to make things right for his sister, for Buddy, and maybe even for Jake himself. Jake was halfway through his meal when he heard someone knock on his door. He was not expecting anyone. None of his friends ever visited without texting first. For a moment, he wondered if it might be a delivery he forgot ordering. He went to the door and looked through the small hole. A tall man with broad shoulders stood outside. He wore a plain blue button shirt and looked to be in his 40s. Jake did not recognize him. The man did not look angry, but something about his calm face made Jake nervous. Jake thought about not answering. He could pretend he was not home. But curiosity won over caution. He opened the door, a small amount keeping the chain lock in place. Just enough to see the stranger, but not enough for anyone to push their way inside. "Can I help you?" Jake asked. His voice sounded higher than normal. He felt his heart beating fast in his chest. The man looked directly at Jake. "I'm Robert Keller," the man said in a quiet voice. "You kicked my sister's dog 2 days ago and posted it online for likes." Jake's mouth went dry. The comment from Robert K. flashed in his mind. This was the same person. But how had he found Jake's home? Normal people could not track others down like that. Jake tried to think of something to say, but no words came out. Robert reached into his pocket, and Jake flinched. But Robert only pulled out a small card which he passed through the gap in the door. Jake looked at it with shaking hands. It showed a police badge and Robert's name with the title detective. "I'm not here officially," Robert explained. "That's my personal card, not my work one. But I wanted you to understand who you're dealing with." Jake felt his legs grow weak. He leaned against the doorframe to stay standing. This was not just some angry internet person. This was a real police detective who had somehow found his home address. "That dog you kicked," Robert continued, his voice still calm. "His name is Buddy. He belongs to my sister who has cancer. That dog is her only comfort most days. She ties him outside that coffee shop for 5 minutes every morning while she gets her drink. He helps her feel normal, feel human." Jake felt sick. The dog belonged to a woman with cancer. Of all the dogs he could have picked, he had chosen one that belonged to someone already suffering, someone whose brother was a police detective. The entire situation felt unreal. "I'm sorry," Jake said, finally finding his voice. "It was just a stupid joke. I didn't hurt him badly. I know that sounds awful, but I swear I didn't mean to cause real harm." Robert nodded slightly. "I am not going to hurt you," he said. "I am not even going to arrest you, though I could. Instead, I am giving you a choice. Take down that video right now, and tomorrow morning you'll come with me to the animal shelter where you'll volunteer for the next 6 months. Or I can make this official, and you can face animal cruelty charges. Your choice." Jake stared at Robert. There was no anger in the man's face, just determination. Jake knew he was serious. This was not an empty threat. Jake pulled out his phone with trembling fingers. He pulled up his account and found the video, which now had over 1 million views. His most successful post ever. He deleted it while Robert watched through the door gap. "He'll meet you outside your building at 9 tomorrow morning," Robert said. "Be there, or I will come back with my badge and handcuffs." He turned and walked away, leaving Jake standing in the doorway, wondering how his life had changed so dramatically in just 2 days. Jake did not sleep well that night. He kept thinking about what would happen in the morning. Would Robert really take him to an animal shelter? What would he have to do there? Jake had never been around animals much. He had no pets growing up. His mother was allergic to fur. When morning came, Jake got dressed in clean clothes. He considered not showing up. Maybe Robert was bluffing about the handcuffs. But Jake had seen the man's eyes. He knew Robert was not someone who made empty threats. At 9 o'clock, Jake went outside his building. Robert was already there, waiting in a blue car. He did not smile when he saw Jake, but nodded slightly as if pleased that Jake had made the right choice. The drive to the animal shelter was quiet. Jake looked out the window, not knowing what to say. Robert did not seem interested in small talk. After 20 minutes, they pulled up to a large building with a sign that said City Animal Shelter. Inside the building, a woman greeted Robert warmly. They clearly knew each other. Her name tag said Maria Director. Robert introduced Jake as a new volunteer who would be helping for the next 6 months. He did not mention the dog-kicking video. Maria looked at Jake with mild interest and had him fill out some papers. "Your community service starts today," Robert told Jake, quietly using words that reminded Jake this was not really voluntary. "You will come here every Saturday and Sunday for the next 6 months. 8 hours each day. If you miss even one day, I will know, and there will be consequences." Jake nodded. He understood. Robert left after speaking privately with Maria for a few minutes. Jake was now alone in a place he had never been, with people he did not know about, to do work he had never done. Maria gave Jake a tour of the shelter. The noise was overwhelming. Dogs barking, cats mewing, people talking. The smell was strong too. Animal food, wet fur, cleaning products. Jake felt out of place and uncomfortable. "Your job will be cleaning the kennels," Maria explained. "You will also help with feeding, walking, and socializing the animals. Some of these dogs and cats have been abused or abandoned. They need gentle handling and patience." Jake was given a blue shelter shirt and shown to the dog area. His first task was cleaning empty kennels. It was disgusting work. The smell made him gag. He had to scrub floors and walls, wash food bowls, and change bedding. His hands were soon red and sore from the cleaning solution. By lunchtime, Jake was exhausted and had only cleaned 10 kennels. There were dozens more waiting. The shelter workers moved around him, efficiently doing their jobs with practiced ease. No one talked to Jake much. Word had somehow spread about why he was there. He saw people whispering and looking in his direction. After a quick lunch, which Jake ate alone, he was assigned to dog walking duty. A shelter worker named Tom showed him how to properly put on a leash and handle the dogs. Tom was the only person who treated Jake normally. He did not seem to know or care why Jake was there. The first dog Jake had to walk was a large mixed breed named Max. The dog was strong and pulled hard on the leash. Jake struggled to control him. Max seemed to sense Jake's nervousness and became more excited. It took all Jake's strength to hold on as the dog tried to chase a squirrel. By the end of the day, Jake was completely worn out. His muscles ached, his clothes were dirty, and he smelled of animals. No one thanked him when he left. No one said goodbye. He knew he would have to come back the next day, and the next weekend, and many more after that. 6 months suddenly seemed like a very long time. The next few weekends followed the same pattern. Jake would arrive at the shelter early, work all day with the animals, and leave exhausted. The work was hard and often unpleasant. Some days he cleaned kennels until his hands were raw. Other days he walked dogs until his feet hurt. He helped bathe animals that did not want to be bathed. He cleaned up accidents and vomit from sick pets. At first, Jake hated every minute. He resented Robert for forcing him into this situation. He counted down the days until his 6 months would be over. The shelter staff kept their distance from him. They were polite but not friendly. Jake often ate lunch alone. But slowly, almost without noticing, things began to change. Jake started learning the names of all the dogs and cats. He began to recognize their different personalities. Some were shy, some were bold. Some liked to play, others just wanted to cuddle. He found himself looking forward to seeing certain animals. There was one dog in particular that Jake connected with, a medium-sized brown mutt named Charlie. Charlie had been at the shelter longer than most of the other dogs. He was missing one eye and had scars on his face from fighting. People looking to adopt usually passed him by for prettier dogs. Charlie was nervous around most people, but for some reason he liked Jake. When Jake cleaned his kennel, Charlie would sit quietly watching him work. When Jake took him for walks, Charlie stayed close, not pulling on the leash like other dogs. Sometimes Jake would sit with Charlie during his breaks, just petting him and talking softly. After about a month, Jake noticed that the shelter staff began treating him differently. Tom, the dog walker, started inviting him to eat lunch together. Maria, the director, began greeting him by name when he arrived. A young volunteer named Sarah showed him how to give the animals medicine and special care. Jake learned that most of the animals at the shelter had sad stories. Some had been abandoned when their owners moved away. Others had been found on the streets half-starved. A few had been rescued from people who treated them badly. Jake thought about the dog he had kicked. He wondered if someone filming that moment was the worst thing that dog had experienced in its life. One day during his 3rd month, Jake was cleaning kennels when he heard a commotion at the front desk. A family had brought in a box of kittens they had found under their porch. The kittens were tiny with their eyes barely open. They needed bottle feeding every few hours. The shelter was already short-staffed that day. Without being asked, Jake volunteered to help. He spent his entire lunch break learning how to prepare kitten formula and feed the tiny babies. It was delicate work. The kittens were so small and fragile. Jake had never held anything so vulnerable in his hands before. When one of the kittens fell asleep in his palm after eating, he felt something warm inside his chest. That evening, when Jake got home, he realized he had not checked his phone all day. Before the shelter, that would have been unimaginable. His social media accounts had lost most of their followers after he deleted the dog-kicking video. For weeks, Jake had obsessively posted new content trying to win people back. But now he found he cared less about online attention. Instead, Jake spent the evening researching kitten care. He wanted to make sure he was doing everything right for the tiny creatures that now depended on him and the shelter staff. For the first time in years, Jake fell asleep thinking about something other than likes and followers. 4 months into his time at the shelter, Jake arrived one Saturday morning to find Maria looking worried. One of their regular volunteers had called in sick, and they were short-staffed on a busy adoption day. Many people would be coming to look at animals and hopefully take some home. Jake, without being asked, offered to stay late. He could help with the adoptions and still do his regular cleaning duties. Maria looked surprised but grateful. She quickly showed Jake how to help potential adopters meet the animals and fill out the necessary paperwork. Jake found he enjoyed introduction duty. He would tell visitors about each animal's personality and needs. He could explain which dogs needed lots of exercise and which cats preferred quiet homes. He knew which animals got along well with children and which ones needed more experienced owners. Around noon, a young couple came in looking for their first pet. They'd wanted a cat that would be happy in their small apartment. Jake showed them several options, but none seemed right. Then he remembered a gray cat named Misty who was shy around strangers, but very affectionate once she knew you. Jake spoke enthusiastically about Misty, describing how she liked to curl up on laps and how she played with toy mice. The couple seemed interested but uncertain. Jake went to Misty's cage and spent several minutes gently coaxing her out. He showed the couple how to approach her slowly and let her sniff their hands first. By the end of their visit, Misty was purring in the woman's arms. The couple filled out adoption papers right away. Jake felt an unexpected happiness seeing Misty find a good home. He had helped make that match happen. For the first time in his life, Jake had used his persuasive skills for something positive, not just for getting attention online. As Jake was finishing his shift that evening, Maria approached him. "Jake, I need a favor," she said. "One of our newest dogs needs special attention. He's very fearful and won't eat when people are watching. Would you be willing to come in for a few hours on Wednesdays too? Just until he adjusts." Jake was surprised by the request. This would be voluntary work beyond his required community service. A month ago, he would have said no immediately. But now he found himself nodding yes before even thinking about it. He wanted to help the frightened dog. That night, as Jake walked home, he realized something important had changed. He had stopped checking the calendar to see how many days remained in his 6-month sentence. He had stopped thinking of the shelter as a punishment. Somewhere along the way, the work had become meaningful to him. At home, Jake looked at his bedroom walls, still covered with printouts of his old popular social media posts. They seemed silly now, even embarrassing. Jake took them down one by one. As he did, he thought about the animals at the shelter. They did not care how many followers he had or how popular his videos were. They only cared that he was kind to them, that he fed them and walked them and cleaned their kennels. For the first time in years, Jake felt good about himself, not because strangers on the internet approved of him, but because he was doing something that actually mattered. He was helping animals find homes. He was providing care to creatures that needed it. It was real work with real results, not just the hollow validation of online likes. 5 months into Jake's time at the shelter, something unexpected happened. Robert came to visit. Jake had not seen him since that first day. Robert walked through the shelter doors on a quiet Tuesday afternoon. Jake was helping sort donated blankets and towels. He froze when he saw Robert walk in. Robert nodded at Jake, but went directly to Maria's office. Through the glass walls, Jake could see them talking. Robert seemed to be asking questions, and Maria was answering. Sometimes she would gesture toward Jake. Jake felt nervous, wondering if he had done something wrong, if Robert was checking up on him. After talking with Maria, Robert approached Jake. "I hear you're doing good work here," he said, his voice neutral, neither friendly nor unfriendly. Jake nodded, not sure what to say. "My sister wants to meet you," Robert continued. "She and Buddy. Would that be okay?" Jake felt his stomach tighten. Emily, the woman with cancer. Buddy, the dog he had kicked. The thought of meeting them made Jake deeply uncomfortable. He had tried not to think about that day, about that terrible decision he had made. But he knew he needed to face this. He needed to apologize in person. "Yes," Jake said finally. "I'd like to meet them." Robert seemed satisfied with this answer. "They will come by the shelter tomorrow afternoon," he said. Then he left without saying anything more. Jake barely slept that night. He kept thinking about what he would say to Emily. How do you apologize for hurting someone's beloved pet for internet fame? There were no words that seemed adequate. The next day, Jake was nervous and distracted. He dropped a bowl of dog food. He put the wrong medicine in a cat's file. Sarah had to help him fix his mistakes. Jake kept watching the door, waiting for Robert and his sister to arrive. They came just after lunch. Robert entered first, followed by a thin woman with a colorful scarf wrapped around her head. In her arms was a small terrier, Buddy. Jake recognized the dog immediately. The same dog from his video. The dog he had kicked for likes. Jake approached them slowly, not sure what to expect. Would the dog remember him? Would Emily be angry? Jake stopped a few feet away and waited. Robert made no move to introduce them. This was Jake's responsibility. "I'm Jake Miller," he said, his voice shaking slightly. "I'm very sorry for what I did to your dog. It was cruel and stupid, and I have no excuse." Emily looked at him for a long moment. Her face was pale from her illness, but her eyes were clear and direct. "Robert told me what happened," she said finally. "He also told me how hard you've been working here." She held Buddy out toward Jake. The small dog sniffed the air, curious, but not afraid. Jake cautiously extended his hand, letting Buddy smell him. The dog showed no sign of recognizing Jake as the person who had hurt him. After a moment, Buddy licked Jake's fingers. The simple act of forgiveness from this small animal brought unexpected tears to Jake's eyes. "People make mistakes," Emily said softly. "Sometimes terrible ones. What matters is what we learn from them. Robert tells me you've learned quite a lot." Jake nodded, unable to speak past the lump in his throat. He gently petted Buddy, feeling the soft fur under his fingers. The dog wagged his tail, seeming to enjoy the attention. "Would you show me around?" Emily asked. "Robert says you know all the animals here now." Jake spent the next hour giving Emily a tour of the shelter. He introduced her to the cats and dogs he cared for. He showed her the kittens he had helped bottle feed, now growing strong and playful. He told her about the animals who had found homes and those still waiting. Emily listened with genuine interest, asking questions about the animals and the shelter. She seemed tired from her illness, but determined to stay engaged. Buddy stayed in her arms the whole time, occasionally looking at Jake with friendly interest. When it was time for them to leave, Emily touched Jake's arm lightly. "Thank you," she said, "not just for the tour, but for everything you've done here. Robert was right about you. Jake did not know what Robert had said about him, but the words filled him with a strange new feeling. Pride. Not the shallow pride of getting likes online, but something deeper and more meaningful. He had done something good. He had changed. The final month of Jake's required service at the shelter went by quickly. He was now coming in 3 days a week, not just the required weekend hours. He had become an important part of the shelter team. Even the volunteers who had once avoided him now treated him like a friend. Jake had developed a special talent for working with fearful animals. He had the patience to sit quietly with scared dogs until they came to him on their own. He knew how to approach nervous cats without frightening them. Maria often assigned him to work with new arrivals who were too traumatized to respond to others. 1 week before his official 6 months ended, Maria called Jake into her office. Jake wondered if she was going to remind him that his service was almost complete. Instead, she surprised him with an unexpected question. "We'd like you to stay on as a paid staff member," she said. "Part-time at first, but possibly full-time in the future. You've shown real talent for this work, Jake. The animals respond to you, and the adopters trust your judgment. We'd hate to lose you." Jake was speechless. A job at the shelter had never been part of his plan. Before the dog-kicking video, his only goal had been internet fame. He had wanted to be an influencer, someone with millions of followers, someone important. But now Jake understood what was truly important: the quiet work of caring for animals who needed help. The joy of seeing a frightened dog learn to trust again. The satisfaction of matching a pet with the perfect family. None of these things would ever go viral or earn him followers, but they mattered in a way his online life never had. "You'll need to think about it," Jake said, though in his heart he already knew his answer. That weekend, as Jake finished his final required day of service, Robert came to the shelter again. This time he was alone. He found Jake in the cat room, where Jake was socializing a new group of kittens. 6 months is up," Robert said. "Your community service is complete." Jake nodded, looking down at the kitten playing with his shoelace. "I know," he said, "but I'm not done here yet." Robert raised an eyebrow questioningly. "Maria offered me a job," Jake explained. "I'm going to take it. I won't be here full-time since I still need my other job to pay rent, but I'll be here 3 days a week." A small smile appeared on Robert's face. The first real smile Jake had ever seen from him. "Good," he said simply. Then he added, "Emily is doing better. Her treatments are working. She asked me to thank you again for all you're doing here." Jake felt a warmth in his chest. "Please tell her I said thanks for giving me a second chance." After Robert left, Jake went back to his work with the kittens. As he sat on the floor with tiny cats climbing over his legs, he thought about how completely his life had changed. 6 months ago, he had been a different person. Someone desperate for attention, willing to hurt an innocent animal just to get people to notice him. Now Jake had deleted all his social media accounts. He no longer cared about going viral or being famous online. He had found something real, something that brought him genuine satisfaction. He had found a community of people who valued his work, not his ability to shock or entertain. Jake picked up one of the kittens, a small orange tabby who had been found abandoned in a parking lot. The kitten purred loudly as Jake held him gently. This is what matters, Jake thought. Not likes, not followers, not fame. Just being kind to those who need kindness. Just making the small corner of the world a little better each day. As Jake prepared to leave that evening, Charlie, the one-eyed dog who had first connected with him, came to the front of his kennel. Jake stopped to pet him through the bars. Charlie licked his hand enthusiastically. Jake had been working with Charlie for months, trying to make him more adoptable. Just yesterday, a family had expressed interest in meeting him. "We'll find you a home soon," Jake promised the dog. "A real home with people who will love you." And Jake knew he had found his own home too. Not the small apartment where he lived, but here at the shelter among the animals who had taught him what truly mattered. Jake Miller was no longer the dog kicker from that viral video. He was someone new, someone better. Someone who had faced the consequences of his actions and grown from them. Someone who had learned that real meaning comes not from online validation, but from making a positive difference in the lives of others. Retroclaude can make mistakes, Please double-check responses. 3.7 Sonnet.